Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the series of online classes for 9th standard science. We are dealing with the first chapter, that is matter in our surroundings, and today we are going to talk about what is evaporation, which is the very last topic of this chapter, and what are the factors affecting evaporation. So, dealing up with evaporation, when we are defining evaporation, it is a process wherein a liquid gets converted into vapors. It is a process wherein a liquid gets converted into vapors. There are various examples of evaporation that are seen in your vicinity or in your surrounding in your day-to-day life. The very first example of evaporation is drying up of the clothes in the sun. Drying up of the clothes in the sun. Another very good example, that is formation of cloud. Formation of clouds, etc., etc. There are very number of the examples which you see of evaporation in your surroundings. Then, when we are talking about evaporation, it becomes necessary to know what are the factors affecting evaporation. To talk about the factors affecting evaporation, we have to again conduct an activity, and for that very purpose we have to take a test tube, and in this test tube we are going to add 5 ml of water. And then we are going to put this test tube either in the either in the window, on the windowsill, or you can put it under the fan. Then next you have to take a bowl or a dish or a saucer, even you can say, which is having a large surface area, and then you put equal amount of water, that is 5 ml of water, in that dish, and again you put this dish or the saucer either on the windowsill or under the fan. Now take a glass and again put equal amount of the water, that is 5 ml of water, and put it in the cupboard. Then note the time of evaporation of water. We will see that evaporation takes place very easily in the B case, that is in the saucer, since the surface area of the saucer is very large. Hence, as evaporation is a surface phenomena, the particles, they are exposed to the outer surface, and as they are coming in contact with the outermost surrounding, they gain up the temperature from their surroundings and they evaporate and vaporize. So it is fast in B. From all these observations, we come to know that there are several factors affecting evaporation, and the very first factor is, that is, increase in temperature. As we have already talked about temperature, that temperature provides heat to the particles, and when the particles gains heat, they gain up kinetic energy, and as soon as they gain up the kinetic energy, they start moving about, breaking up the forces of attraction present between them, and they move about far and wide from one another. Thus, temperature plays a very important role in evaporation. If temperature increases, it provides heat to the particles and as well as kinetic energy, due to which these particles, they gain the kinetic energy and they start moving far apart from each other. Hence, they are converted from the liquid state to the vapor state, that is from the liquid to the gaseous state. Then another factor that affects is increase in surface area. As we have talked about in this class only, I have told you all that evaporation is a surface phenomenon. The more the number of the particles come to the surface, that is they come in close contact with the surroundings, the more is the process of evaporation. That is, we have seen that since in the test tube, the surface area was very small, the process of evaporation was very slow. But in case of the saucer, the surface area increased, due to which large amount of the particles came in contact with the outermost surrounding and they gained up the temperature or the heat from the surrounding, and the particles gain the kinetic energy and they start moving far apart from one another. Hence, they got evaporated. Then the third factor is decrease in humidity. Humidity, first we should define what is humidity. Humidity is the total amount of moisture content present in the atmosphere. Now, the atmosphere or the surrounding air has got a characteristic property that it is only able to hold a certain amount of the moisture. Beyond that, it cannot hold the more amount of moisture. If humidity increases, therefore, it is not going to support evaporation since large amount of the moisture is already present in the air. But if humidity decreases, then we can say that more amount of evaporation will take place. This we can very well see in our day-to-day life, that is during the hot sunny days, that is nowadays it is very hot and sunny. You can see that when we are drying up our clothes outside, we can see that they get dried up very easily. But in the same if we dry up the clothes in the rainy days, it takes a long time for them to get dried up. Even they don't even get dried up. So this is the effect of decrease in humidity. Another is, so these are all the factors which affect evaporation. Now, when we are dealing with evaporation, there are certain factors. We say that evaporation leads to the cooling effect. Why does evaporation leads to the cooling effect? There is another example of that, that if we put acetone on our palm, then after some time we feel cooling effect. Why does this happen? Because the particles of acetone, they gain the temperature or the heat from the surrounding and they get vaporized, as a result of which it creates a cooling effect. There is another example of why do people wear cotton clothes in summer. It is because since in summer our body perspires or it continuously sweats up. Therefore, these particles of sweats, they gain up the heat energy from the surrounding and they get vaporized, leaving behind the cooling effect. And since cotton is a good absorber of the water vapor or the sweat, it keeps on absorbing the large amount of the sweat that is produced during the summer days. Another example is that you might have seen that when you put certain amount of the ice cold water or certain amount of the ice cubes in the glass water, then you can see after a certain time that tiny water droplets are present outside the surface of the glass. Why this happens? Because the what to say, the particles outside, present outside in the atmosphere, when they come in close contact with the ice, that is ice cold water in the glass, they lose their heat and they get settled down on the rim or the edge of the glass, and they get converted from the vapor state to the liquid state. So these are all the various effects of evaporation in our day-to-day life. Now we end up with the chapter. From the next series, we are going to start up with the next chapter, that is matter around us pure? Thank you.